Like, that was my welcome to healthcare moment. Like, you know how like for some professional athletes out there, they'll tell their stories about like the welcome to the NFL moment.
Yeah, well, welcome to the game.
Welcome to the game. Welcome to the big boy league. So, you know, you come across a situation where you're like your ego is just like it's just like put in check.
Yeah, man.
I'm not saying that I came in with an ego, but I was feeling pretty good. Like from the time that I started up until like the midpoint, I was kind of getting it.
Yeah.
I was like understanding critical care a little bit better, the medications, some like disease processes, post-surgical patients, how to manage somebody who's intubated.
Yeah.
The basic things like that. And my preceptor was like guiding me along the way. So I was feeling pretty good going into my next shift. Like, I'm going to say this is week 8. Let's just say it's week 8. And this is like third-ish week of April.
Okay.
Which is like peak
Yeah,
COVID.
man. That was a time.
Peak COVID. So we had COVID patients like all around, right? So the morning of that shift, I wake up like usual, do my morning routine. I drive over to work. I'm getting hype. I'm getting sice. You know what I mean? I'm feeling myself. I walk into the building. I clock in. Head over to the nurse's station. Where they have a piece of paper that says each nurse's like last name or whatever, and then they have like the room assignments per nurse. So it's like in ICU, it's 2 patients per nurse, right? That's the ratio.
Okay, 2 to 1.
So for me, I was always with my preceptor. It would be my preceptor's last name, my last name together for this room and this room. That's how it's always been.
Okay.
So I go over and I'm looking at the sheet, and all I see at first is my preceptor's last name next to a couple rooms 1 and 3. I remember these, and I don't see my name. I'm like, okay, they probably just forgot to put my name. For a half second after that, I'm like, okay, that's what it is. And then I look a little further and I see my last name next to 2 different rooms. I'm like,
holy shit.
That's a mistake. People make mistakes. That's okay. So I call my preceptor. I'm like, hey, you mind taking a look at this? He's like, oh, let's see what's going on. So the charge nurse comes over. She's like, hey, so I know you're on orientation, and I know that you're like halfway. You're still like kind of new, but staffing's pretty bad. Like the numbers are down, and we feel like you could handle this type of load. You've been doing well. Your preceptor's been, giving like good reviews. We feel like you could handle these 2 patients here. You could handle this assignment, and your preceptor will be right next to you, which is true. Mm-hmm. He had 1 and 3. I had 2 and 4. Okay. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll be next to my buddy. He'll help me whenever I need. I'll make it happen. I'm not gonna be like, no, I can't do it.
Right.
Like some punk, in a safe way. In a safe way. I'm not going to be unsafe and be like, yeah, I can take on these like 2 crazy patients. I'm not going to do that. I did not do that. I swear. Don't do that.
Please.
please, very please. So I go over to the night shift nurse because I'm day shift, right? So I go over. I'm like, hey, I'm getting a report. So starting with bed 4, this guy was, he came into the ICU because he was septic, right? So his blood pressure was low because he had an infection that spread to his bloodstream and spread everywhere. He had to get antibiotics, blood pressure support. I think he was intubated at some point for a little while.
Wow.
They extubated him since then, took him off the blood pressure support medications, and then he's been doing okay. At that point, they were like, yeah, he could probably get stepped down to IMC, intermediate care unit.
Okay.
So like, okay. Cool. How about this next one? So bed 2 was this older lady, like 50s, 60s, came in with COVID. Her story was she came in with the classic like shortness of breath, nausea, like the classic COVID symptoms that you would see on almost every single ED patient who got stepped into the ICU. Shortness of breath, nausea, diarrhea, those like classic COVID symptoms.
Yeah.
And I'm going through the story. She got admitted to the ED. Emergency department. She had a nasal cannula for oxygen support, like the thin little tube, the plastic tube. Giving her oxygen support, that didn't work after a while. Got the high flow nasal cannula, which is like a thicker, broader tube that sends more oxygen in a quicker amount of time. That didn't work after a while. Then she had to get stepped up to what's called a BiPAP mask. And a BiPAP is just like this mask they strap to your face.
The Bane joint.
Bane, like from the Dark Knight. Exactly. So like, and that's like strapped to your face too, like strapped tight, because you don't want to have like a leak or anything.
Okay.
So all it's doing is just like forcing air down your airway, just repeatedly as you're taking breaths. It's just sending you air because you can't really do it on your own, even if you're getting it through your nose, like through a nasal
cannula. Not going
cannula.
well if you got that, man.
Right. So that's where she was at. She was rocking with that for like a day.
Wow.
So the nurse was telling me like she's been pretty good on these settings, these current settings on the BiPAP, like the amount of oxygen, the rate, the pressure, those type settings. Like she was doing okay. So I'm like, okay, this patient's like that patient's like that, shouldn't be too bad. My preceptor comes over. He's like, hey, how we doing? I'm like, yeah, I mean, this assignment doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. Like, you know, like I feel like they did me pretty good with this assignment. Like they looked out for your boy.
Oh, man.
Within less than an hour, brother, I look at my bed
1
4.
hour later.
Less than an hour, I swear. I look inside the room for bed 4, the previously septic patient. Mm-hmm. This dude is gray.
Gray?
Regular white guy. You like when you look at somebody who has a very low blood pressure or like a very low heart rate, like the perfusion is not perfusing with their blood to the tissues. Mm-hmm. They look like noticeably different.
Damn.
Like their skin tone is gone. Like this dude was gray. I look at his vitals on the monitor. It says like 70 something over 40 something, 60 something over 40 something, and like normal blood pressure, which is he's been rocking with for a while. Like normal blood pressure is like 110s, 120s systolic, over like 70s to 80s. And systolic blood pressure is the amount of pressure applied to your blood vessels.
Pay attention now, y'all.
When your heart contracts. In that moment when the heart contracts, that's your systolic blood pressure. Diastolic is the amount of pressure that's applied to your blood vessels in between contractions. When your heart is at rest.
Y'all. In between.
So first number should be like 110s, 120. Second number is good if it's like 70s to 80s, depending on who the patient is, right? This dude was like, I swear, like high 60s over 40s, 70 over 40.
Damn.
Invisibly, like, not looking good. So I'm in there. I put my head on, I'm like, hey, somebody like come help me, please. So my preceptor was in another room, so I couldn't get him. And then the guy who was next to me, he comes over. He's like, hey, man, I got you. You know, we'll go in here. We'll give him a fluid bolus, you know, like a whole bunch of fluid to the IV, get the blood pressure up. His blood pressure came up. We were good. I was like, whew. Okay. So that guy, the nurse who helped me, he was like, man, I think all you got to do is watch out for this guy. You probably don't have to watch out for the other COVID lady, right? That's who your patient is, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, just worry about this one. She's chilling on the BiPAP. Don't have to worry about that. And then I remembered what the charge nurse told me at the beginning. She was like, you have this assignment. This is that. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. You should be good. Shouldn't be too bad. And I knew. That was bullshit. That lady was lying. Whenever somebody tells you like, oh, this is like an easy assignment. Oh, this case is not bad. Oh, like this should be quick. It's never like that. Never, ever, 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 ever like that. So if you're new to nursing and you get that, just take it with the smallest.
I normally don't do this. It's my first time.
Just take it with the smallest grain of salt because it never works out like that. Just make sure you stay, no matter what it is, just stay alert, and then you'll be good. But that's what they told me, and I believed it. I was like, okay, this thing should be cool. Even after the crazy thing happened with bed 4, so we get bed 4 good. I go over into bed 2, and that's the lady with COVID, right? So she's on the BiPAP mask. It's shoving so much air, and it's a loud machine too. It's like a reverse vacuum cleaner, just like pushing air.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And it's very loud. So the person with the BiPAP mask can barely hear you when you're talking to them. And I had to put on all the PPE stuff, right? The painter mask type respirator, the face shield, the gown and stuff. She wouldn't have any idea what I look like. And she could barely hear me. I could barely hear her, right?
Shit.
But then I learned that the only thing that she really wanted was just to make sure that the iPad worked that patients were using, because you can't let patients in.
Yeah, no visitor policy, man. I remember.
Exactly. So we had all the iPads, the FaceTime, we had all that stuff going. So she was just only pressed about that. She wanted to like talk to her son and whoever else, her family, right? So I was like, okay, in my head, I'm like, all right, cool. So if this is all I have to do, then this shouldn't be too bad. Like the other guy in bed 4, he's not trying to die anymore. He's chilling. This lady, she just has to keep her BiPAP mask on, so she'll keep breathing. She's chilling, and then she'll have her iPad. Cool. A few hours after that, this dude in bed 4, he's still cooling. They decided to hold on to him for a little bit more just because of the whole situation that happened in the morning. They're like, we'll watch him for a little bit longer. He may not be transferred. So I'm like, bet. Give him his meds, do his assessment, chart that, chilling. This lady, make sure she has her iPad, so she could talk to her family, make sure that the BiPAP masks are working, make sure that her vitals are okay, whatever. But then like 3 o'clock rolls around, and she's struggling like way more to breathe.
Damn.
Right?
Even
And
with even with the mask?
even with the Bane mask on, bro. And she like you could tell like when somebody's like struggling to breathe, you could tell like the way that their chest's moving, the way that like they're moving around.
Okay.
And you can see the look on their face too, like when they're struggling to breathe. So then I realized like, okay, this BiPAP probably isn't doing its job. So then we got the respiratory therapist to come in and with the doctor, and then they were like, okay, let's get an ABG, which is an arterial blood gas, which is where you go into the wrist in the main artery here. You get a blood sample, and then you could check different things, but the one thing that we really wanted to check was just how much blood was being circulated. How much oxygen was being circulated through the blood.
Okay.
And from there, you can get an idea of like, okay, how well are her tissues being perfused with oxygen? And hers was going down. You wanted to go up.
Damn.
So we're like, oh, okay, so let's turn up the settings on this BiPAP. We'll, force more air, to put it simply, and then she should be doing better. But after like an hour, and however long during that time, like after we change the settings, like I'm chopping it up with my preceptor, we're like, okay, we're talking shop, we're talking about this, like, hey, watch out for this, I'll put you on game about that, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I go check on the lady again, and she's like still struggling to breathe even after we turned up the thing,
even
right?
with the settings up. Damn,
So
bro.
I'm like, okay. So I called the doctor, and then I talked to the RT, the respiratory therapist, and they come in and they're like, okay, maybe we should think about like intubation. And the lady was still like kind of with it, like she was still aware of what's going on, and she was like, absolutely not, because by that time, remember this is like mid to end of April,
Yeah.
and when a patient was really sick with COVID, they would go through the whole emergency department thing with the nasal cannula, high flow BiPAP, and then when they got intubated, the part about the intubation that was crazy was that when patients went through that, the mortality rate was like way high.
Yeah, that's
way
when
high.
data started getting printed out. Yeah.
Exactly. So by that point, like a lot of people heard about that. Like once you get on the ventilator, like you never come off, whatever, which is, had some validity to it, right? That's why a lot of people were scared.
Yeah, man. It's a crazy time, bro.
So the lady was like refusing it. She was like, absolutely not. No. And the family was on the same page with her. They were like, no, please don't intubate. And we're like, okay, we'll mess with the BiPAP settings, see how she could do, and then we'll reassess in a little while. So like around 5 p.m. comes around. We go back in there, and she looks worse. A little bit more lethargic. Like she's like barely able to say anything. She's like less oriented. Like she doesn't know where she is. She can barely answer any questions.
Damn.
And we're like, okay, this lady's probably gonna lose her airway. Like she probably won't be able to breathe on her own if we keep her like strapped to this BiPAP mask, and she'll lose her oxygen, and then she'll go into cardiac arrest.
Damn.
So at this point, this lady couldn't make up her own like decisions, right? Because she's not even with it.
Yeah.
And then we called the family. We're like, hey, the doctors were talking to him, and then we're like, hey, this lady needs to be intubated. Otherwise, if she stays on this BiPAP mask, it's not going to go well. They're like, okay, all right.
Tough conversation, man.
Oh, absolutely. And we had those conversations a lot with family. So they're okay with the intubation. We get all our stuff ready, and at this point, I have no idea what to do. Because I've never been in an intubation before, like an actual patient who needed to be intubated. Like I've worked with intubated patients who are intubated already and stabilized, and like they're chilling, and like you have like
You're
all
at
the
ground
medications
zero,
for it.
bro.
But I'm like, oh, I've never been in the process where it actually freaking happens. So my butthole's tight. Like
Damn.
so you know when you come to a point where you're just like I'm taking too much time to think on my own, so I just need to follow like the directions of everybody else. So I'm just gonna defer to everybody else, and I don't care if I look stupid, but I'm just gonna like do whatever they tell me to do.
Yeah, dude.
So they were like, yeah, just get this, like go over here, go over there.
I know they're not whispering.
Oh, absolutely not. This, it took me back to like, when you're like washing the car with your dad.
Yeah, dude.
Get the whole wheel. Get the shiny part. Get the whole wheel. Oh God, that took me back. So we get all the stuff ready, and then we do the intubation, right? Sedate, get the tube ready, ET tube down the throat, pause. And then we try to get her stabilized, but within like less than a minute, blood pressure down, heart rate down, cardiac arrest right there. She codes.
Shit.
Right there. That's another thing I never went through. The only time I went through a code.
Damn, that's a lot of first times in one session,
brother. The only time I went through an actual code where a patient was like in cardiac arrest was several months before that when I was still in nursing school, and I went through like my final clinical rotation. And all I was doing in there was just like compressions. They're like, hey, we need somebody on compressions. So I was like, oh, bet. I don't know how to do anything else, but I'll do this. And like, you know, people were impressed with my compressions and stuff. Like, oh man, that guy's like doing his thing. I'm like, yes. So that's all I had.
Damn.
And like, I knew that there were some meds. I knew that there were some things that you could do during the code, but I was not comfortable with that at all. Absolutely not.
Damn.
So that's when all the craziness started to happen. Like, you hear like doctors yelling like, get this, get this, get this. You got nurses like, get that, get that, get that. I'm like, okay, is this it?
Damn, John.
I'm telling you, it's like when you're little and you like give your parents something. Is this it? That's how I was, bro. I had no idea what to do.
Damn.
So this lady is down for like 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Like,
that's almost an episode of anime, bro.
We did. That's almost a Naruto episode, bro.
Yeah.
We did CPR on this lady for about 15 minutes. Got her pulse back. And then, but the crazy thing about that was once we got the pulse back, we had to keep giving medications. So we did something called a soft code, which is you're giving medications that you usually give during like your ACLS and your CPR. ACLS stands for Advanced Cardiovascular Life Support. And you're giving those medications, right? But you're not actively like doing compressions. You're not, doing those other things during that type of little program. So we're doing everything that we can to keep this lady's blood pressure up and her heart rate up so that she doesn't lose her pulsing and then we have to code. Right. But she did it anyway.
Damn, the back to back.
And let me just give you a little timestamp because at this point it's like 6:30. It's about 6:30. And I'm supposed to get up at 7. So we do the code again, but we got her back after about like 5 or 6 minutes, right? But the room in there is a freaking mess.
Can imagine.
You got empty flushes over here, empty meds over there. You got bags over here. You got trash over there. You got a lot of people in there already. It's a mess, but we're still doing the same thing. We're like giving her medication, make sure she doesn't code again. So you have like a whole parade of people in there.
Absolutely. Fuck.
And by that time, like night shift comes in because it's like just about 7 o'clock. And in my mind, I'm like, I didn't even see bed 4. I haven't looked at bed 4 since like 3 p.m.
That's right. Dude, you've been in the hole, man.
So I'm trying to look for the guy who was helping me out. I'm like, I think I got to check my guy. He's like, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. He's good. He got his meds. He's chilling. So I'm like, thank you. But then I remembered that I didn't chart shit.
Oh,
I didn't chart an assessment. I didn't chart any meds. I didn't chart any vitals because I was dealing with the whole situation with that lady from like 3 p.m. up until 7 p.m., right? So night shift coming in. I'm giving them the breakdown. They're like, oh, that's my patient. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, that's your patient. But your other one's better, I swear. So, I'm working with them, we're getting like all cleaned up. And then finally I could like step away. They're like, no, we're good. We got this. I'm like, oh, thank you. So then that's when I realized like all this documentation I had to do on the computer. And I was like, bruh. So my preceptor comes over and shout out to my preceptor. You know who you are. I appreciate you. Stuck with me. And he helped me with my documentation all the way through.
Wow. Hats off to that guy.
And usually when you have like a normal shift, you do your shift, right, from 7A to 7P or vice versa if you're night shift. And then you you give your report, little handoff, check on your patients, go in the locker room, change if you have to, clock out, 7:30 at the latest. And you go home, you do your thing. We didn't leave until like after 9:15 p.m.
Wow.
And anybody who's ever worked in like any kind of bedside nursing, doesn't matter if it's ICU, IMC, ED, doesn't matter what it is. If you're leaving after 9 p.m., your shift sucked.
I bet.
Your shift was ass. Yeah.
Damn.
So we finally finished, and I could tell my preceptor was blown, but he was cool enough to like stay with me, but I could tell he was blown. He was just like clicking the computer, like
he probably saw it in your eye, like he needs this help.
I was like, man, I shouldn't like try to crack a joke or anything. So I go home and I sit down. I'm like, so this is what it's about.
Damn, this is
what it's about.
Hell of a shit.
And I was trying to tell my wife, I was giving her the breakdown, and I was like, as I was telling her the story, my amazing, beautiful wife, who I love so much,
great answer, John.
I was giving her the story, and like as I was going through it, I was just like trying to go over all the things that I saw, but some of it was like a blur, But all I can remember was just like the voices, just like get this, get this, get this. We need to do this, and to do this. Boom, 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 boom.
And the sounds, bing,
bing,
bing, bing,
oh
bing,
my
bing,
God,
bing.
the alarm sounds, and that was a tough shift. And I had to be there the next day.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that was tough. So that was my welcome to healthcare moment for me.
Hell of a shit,
That was my
John.
welcome to healthcare moment.